Hello, I am here today to talk about reasons why sex trafficking survivors deserve to be heard by Pennsylvania lawmakers. Okay, now here are all the reasons listed. Hold on. Those are lawmakers. I'll get to that in a little bit, okay? Here's the reasons listed. As you see, there are none, okay? There are no reasons why sex trafficking, a form of rape, that rape trafficking survivors shouldn't be heard in the Pennsylvania House before any legislation is further discussed or passed about us without us. I am Gabrielle Monroe. I am a child sex trafficking survivor. I was abused ages 9 and 10. My dad was murdered in 1990. That was the only reason why that part of my abuse stopped. And that started right in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. I was abused amongst two counties, Westmoreland and Allegheny County. And here we are, let me see, from 1990 to now. That's like 30, some, 40, whatever, years later. 36 years later. And there are still zero resources for sex trafficking survivors. There's currently a child, a teenager under the age of 18, who needs resources, and we can't find any. So there should be no reasons other than we're rape trafficking survivors. But, you know, I do respect that our lawmakers do need reasons. Because if not, they'd just kind of do whatever their party tells them to do, right? And none of us want to think that our lawmakers do that. So here's what we're gonna do. I got them at the Dollar Tree, by the way. We're gonna see how they work. I got this at Dollar Tree too. Okay, so reasons. Wait, first, shoot, I lost my order. Okay, there we go. Okay, I wanted to start with the two chairs. Okay, so reasons. Alright, so here are reasons. Okay, for both. Now, I will put all of their information, their contact information at the end of this, as well as copy and paste it into the YouTube description. Okay, so here are the two appropriation committee chairs, the Republican chair and the Democrat chair. Now, as you'll see later, I don't believe one party should be red and one party should be blue. You'll see, and I'm just going to try to cover my worksheet. Everything we do is purple and red, and there's a reason for that, because everything we do is to protect sex trafficking survivors and sex workers. And purple is the color that sex trafficking survivors voted on at 2019 International Human Trafficking Conference in Toledo. Sex trafficking survivors voted on purple. I did not pick that color. In fact, the youngest sex trafficking survivor in the room said that I think it should be purple, and she gave her very personal reasons. And there were multiple other survivors who loved it. So purple is for sex trafficking, and red is the standard color for sex workers. Now, here are some reasons why sex trafficking survivors deserve a public meeting. Resources, allocation. Okay, now, resources allocation means, why do I have a teenage sex trafficking survivor who is a minor child who doesn't have any access to any resources? From August of 2024 until now, I myself, as well as the parent of this child sex trafficking survivor, have been looking for resources. We have safe harbor funding that is supposed to go to child sex trafficking survivors. So that child deserves to have her voice heard if she wants to speak. Resource allocation is important. Where are all of these survivor resources? There aren't any that I can find. We need to consider criminal justice consequences. We're just going to call it criminal injustice. Consequences. Now, why I say it's criminal injustice consequences is because the language and the bill, Senate Bill 45, it's very irresponsible, okay? It is intentionally irresponsible. Any senator who passed this bill without reading it should not be a senator, okay? And I'm going to give you just one example. The vague language expands crimes, and the words actually say something of value. Okay, now I'm going to show you one of the most valuable things I have within my reach, which is not much. Like, I have a fan here, some tape. I mean, I got battery backup. I do have a pretty decent microphone attached to my phone. I don't have a cordless one that works that I know how to use. But anyways, but I'm going to show you the most valuable thing in my reach. Okay. So, do you know why this is more valuable than my very overly priced battery backup? Even though I think I paid $6.99, $7.99, I am a bargain shopper. I am a bargain vacationer. It's valuable to me because during the beginning of the pandemic, I spent so much time all volunteering to try to get resources to people. I would work until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and then get back up at 5 o'clock and do it all over again for days on end. So that fall was my 40th birthday, and we were all on this like social distancing thing, which is cool with me because I love outdoor travel. So I drove to South Dakota and back. Because even then, hubby was too blind to safely drive. Even though he was driving when he shouldn't have been when we got locked down. But anyways, I digress. So let's get back to like the criminal justice consequences. So let's say that this is defined by some judge over in Philadelphia as something of value. This now becomes something that is like criminal, right? It's a coffee cup. Like, this coffee cup has no value to you as a watcher, probably, okay? So, but this has value to me. So whenever criminal justice consequences are moved, this isn't just increasing consequences. Let me be very specific. This is moving clients of prostitutes into the criminal codes under sex trafficking. Okay, so clients of prostitutes will now be likely charged as sex traffickers. They will likely have to register for some list, all for hiring a prostitute. So, okay, this brings up a lot of questions. I just found out recently that the Pennsylvania State Attorney General is the one who is pushing this. Why is he trying to push clients of prostitutes into a crimes code that already isn't being upheld in Pennsylvania law? We already have crimes for sex trafficking. We already have tools in which people can prosecute for sex trafficking. Yeah, we have tools in which to investigate and prosecute people who are sharing child sexual abuse images and things like that, right? We have this technology. We already have it. So we have it, and it's why is he trying to put clients of prostitutes, adult clients of prostitutes who Prostitution is a career. It is a morally debatable career, but we can debate that later. But it is a career. This has 20 years from now, clean slate 5.0 written all over it. Because they're creating sex traffickers because they can't find them? Is that what is happening with the Attorney General here in Pennsylvania? So criminal justice consequences need to be considered before any of this. This will tear apart families. Not only will this be used against clients of prostitutes, it'll be used against prostitutes who work with each other for safety reasons, because a reminder, me, who was a prostitute in January of 2025, I got assaulted, my rib broken, my muscle torn, and I couldn't report. So what's happening here? Like, why can't sexual abuse survivors report safely, while the Attorney General is trying to expand criminal justice? I don't know. Is this like the next war on drugs? Like, is this their plan to incarcerate and fill our prison systems? I have questions. Okay, so anyways, that goes right into my next point here. Not expanding criminalization unnecessary. So, again, on that clean slate that was passed in 2023, cannabis expungement records were on there. Like, a lot of this stuff was supported. Something else that snuck by, quietly sat back and didn't say anything till now. I'm pretty sure that prostitution can now be put under clean slate, but that doesn't help us, because clean slate, I think it's just sealable. So if it's just sealable, then the police could see it, and police are abusers of both full-service sex workers and sex trafficking survivors. I speak from personal experience. Any Pennsylvania lawmaker who wants to read my book about my childhood experience in Westmoreland, Allegheny County, let me know and I'll send you the digital copy for free, because there will be so many questions when you're done reading this, and you're going to look at Senate Bill 45 like, why are we concentrating on clients of prostitutes and prostitutes who work together because we've created such a hostile work environment for them as the state of Pennsylvania? Why are we going after these adults? Why aren't we going after people who are raping children? Okay? Because I will tell you, I have at least 4 sex trafficking survivors who will speak at a Pennsylvania public hearing. All right. So let's not expand criminalization unnecessarily. Don't I'm trying to figure out how to shorten unnecessary. NEC, unnecessarily expand criminalization. Okay, there should be no further expanding of criminalization without having a public hearing for sex trafficking survivors. Okay, now, that gets into survivor services funding. And I've talked so much about this horrible bill lately that I'm not sure if I've mentioned this yet. Sex trafficking survivors. Now, I moved back from Florida in 2017. And the circumstances of me moving back were just, let's just say, I moved back and I searched for resources, like for sex trafficking survivors, and there weren't any. I was told by multiple organizations that I was over 24, so I was too old to receive organizations. So whenever I started calling out these organizations for how harmful that is, like, what do you mean? Like, only those whose brains are not fully grown and whose minds are still fully manipulatable can receive resources and be considered sex trafficking survivors, but the rest of us, we're not allowed. No. That kind of victim blaming. So they stopped doing that, but look, we got screenshots. In fact, I'm pretty sure full-service sex workers invented screenshots for our safety because we've survived the most dangerous career on the earth. Really. I survived over 27 years as a prostitute. All but 4 in Pennsylvania. As an adult. Let's not even get into the child sex trafficking and the trading sexual services as a youth because I needed survival resources and they weren't accessible to me through the state. So, survivor services funding, there are no resources. We need to very specifically find out where are all of the sex trafficking survivor resources for survivors, not for these organizations to create these programs for these savior things that they then go to a college and hire somebody who just graduated and is a brand new counselor to determine what rape trafficking survivors need. That is not what we need. Sex trafficking survivors need direct access to our resources. Okay, they're there. Why don't we have access to that fund? Without police being barriers, because police are not safe for sex trafficking survivors. According to the National Survivors Network, 90.8% of sex trafficking survivors experienced our criminal justice system as a part of saving them. And they didn't stop doing this until we started calling them out for things like, well, raping, while arresting, right? Like that happened here in Pittsburgh. And the district attorney was abusing legislation and charging prostitutes with condoms as an instrument of crime. Like, we really need to find out why all of this concentration is on expanding criminalization and services that, quite frankly, don't exist. Sex trafficking survivors don't have resources. We have a child, a minor, those youth, those things that everybody, I think, agrees we should keep alive. I mean, even if you don't agree, you have to publicly say it because you're a lawmaker. Right? So we got to keep all of these, young things alive. Everybody under 18. We have one that needs resources right now in Pennsylvania, and there's none to be found. And we've been looking. Mom has been looking for, it'll be 2 years this month. And I have been looking, it'll be 2 years next month. 2 years we've been looking for these resources. Where are they? So, where are survivor resources? And we're going to give him a question marks, a little frowny face with tears, because it's really sad that we have no resources. And the Appropriations Committee is meeting on Saturday night. Well, I guess in fairness, I haven't checked, but okay, no. As of right now, I see no emails from anybody on the Appropriations Committee. Now, they have had a 46-page, technically it's 45 because the last page is just my name, I think. But they have a 45-page breakdown of how harmful Senate Bill 45 is. That is available for free for anybody to read on my Patreon. And when I have time, I do have it in a PDF format to upload other places. I have it via screenshots that's been emailed. Look, we track everything around here. Okay, so those are some of the arguments. Let's look at the other ones here. Again, resource allocation, criminal justice consequences, not expanding criminalization unnecessary, and survivor services funding. Look, so one of the committee chairs Jordan Harris. I'm not going to give the party, because here's what matters. Jordan Harris is a former social worker, I believe, of some sort, if I'm not wrong. But I'm pretty sure, like, that's the background. So we need these to protect the children, right? If this is really about going after people who are sex traffickers, sex trafficking is a form of rape. Like, where are these survivor services? What services are being funded? And, like, furthermore, why are places like the Blackburn Center allowed to do things like label children as child prostitutes until people like me call them out and say, hey, there's no such thing as a child prostitute. And anybody who's watching this, no such thing as a child prostitute. Okay, we're going to take a break there because we got a whole bunch of things. Okay, we need, hold on. Need survivor wanted support for both adults and children. Sex trafficking is a form of rape. Is that on my screen still? Yeah. So we need survivor support that is individualized and very specific per survivor. Okay, so we're going to take a break here, and I'm going to get to my fun little creative keeps me sane stuff. Okay. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's put these in there. Sorry. Reasons sex trafficking survivors deserve a hearing. All right. We have the Pass the Mic to Survivors graphic that lists all Pennsylvania House Appropriation Committee members here. Now, they're having a meeting Saturday night, so I need you to call them and leave a message on Saturday night if any one of these reasons resonate with you, okay? All of these numbers will be in the YouTube. They'll be linked everywhere. All of the socials that I have, YouTube, Facebook, I don't know. Just find them on the socials, okay? Wherever you're watching this, just click around, okay? So this is the Pass the Mic, okay? It has hashtag Stop Ignoring Us PA. Stop ignoring sex trafficking survivors. This is not the first time sex trafficking survivors have tried to get a public hearing. The first time was with Representative Austin Davis and the Democratic, Allegheny County Democratic Caucus, right? Like, we were supposed to have this big meeting. We prepped child sex trafficking survivors for this. We'll talk about that another time. Anyways, so, sex trafficking survivors, pass us the mic, Pennsylvania. We deserve to be heard if this is really about ending sex trafficking. If it's about making Pennsylvania a police state, just say that, alright? And I'll shut up and go away because you're wasting my time, okay? But if this is about protecting people from sex trafficking, pass the mic to sex trafficking survivors and sex workers. Okay, then the next fun one. We have the public hearing bingo. Who is going to agree to give sex trafficking survivors the mic so we can be heard? Okay? And by the way, we do have one member of the General House Caucus who is going to bring up concerns whenever it's brought back to the House. So we'll get more into that later, but this is not going to go back to the Senate unstopped. We need this. Whether they give us a hearing or not, this must be amended to center sex trafficking survivors and our needs, period. And then there's like the old school one, and then we'll get back to more reasons. Okay, the old school. Survivors are calling for a public hearing. Look, we got this old school phone. Who remembers these phones? I do. Okay, so I just noticed because my brace matches the purple. You'll notice Democrat members is in red, Republican members is in purple. This isn't a political statement. This is intentional. Again, not sure where you came into this video, but the purple is for sex trafficking survivors. As voted on by sex trafficking survivors, one of the only things that's only been decided by sex trafficking survivors without somebody who's making money off of saving us's influence. So purple, yeah, that was a young woman who decided that, and everybody voted on it, and it was all sex trafficking survivors. So purple it is. And red is for sex workers. And why we moved them is because this is not about politics. This is not about Republican, Democrat. This is about protecting people from rape. Okay? Very clearly, why does the Pennsylvania Attorney General want to turn clients of prostitutes into sex traffickers? Why isn't he concentrating on the people who are raping? So we got questions, okay? So here, I'll put some of this up here. Here's some numbers. These are in Harrisburg. And if you are like me, sometimes, actually a lot of times, I'm not great with speaking publicly unless you know me. And you can see I'm a little... I'm autistic, so whatever. But you can call after hours and leave a message. If you call, you are absolutely, you don't put it on speakerphone, okay? But you can like record yourself talking to their voicemail and what you're saying, and like, hey, yo, this is what's happening. Like, you could pick one of these things. Sex trafficking survivors deserve to be heard. No matter what happens with this bill, we need to be heard, period. We have questions about resource allocation, criminal injustice consequences. Let's not unnecessarily expand criminalization. No. Where are sex trafficking survivor resources? And this has like 2 question marks with a little sad face crying, because where are resources? We need survivor wanted support, which is very individualized. They have no idea what we need. They're too busy giving us, like these therapists who want to give us career counseling and send us to career fairs. I'm sorry, I wasn't a 9-year-old prostitute. I didn't need to learn how to fill out a resume and do an interview. I needed people to stop raping me. So, we'll get back to more interesting things ways later. So, let's get back to the reasons. Okay. This one is ensuring the House hears directly from survivors and people with lived experiences. So, we're just going to put center lived experiences. And I'm just going to put a heart there, even though I don't have a purple Sharpie, which is green paper, so it wouldn't matter. We're going to put that in the center. Let's center that. I want center-ish. Alright, the next one is, we need to examine the potential fiscal and implementation impacts. Now, the arrest process is very expensive. I haven't checked this out since before the pandemic, and I'm sure, like everything else, it has gone up, right? Now, back in the day, it cost about $2,000 per prostitution arrest. Now, that's just prostitution, right? A victimless, non-violent act that they call a crime, but it doesn't even fit the definition of what a crime is, okay? So that's $2,000 to target adults who are consenting with other adults. How much does it cost to, like, entrap clients of prostitutes and say they're traffickers? I mean, how are they going to get the photos? Oh, I know how they get the photos, by the way. They steal them from prostitutes online in other areas, and then they use them. Because if they use AI, I mean, it's a good. AI is coming along. It really is. But it ain't that good yet. So they steal our stuff. This is law enforcement. They steal our stuff and pretend to be a woman. This is how they entrap clients. So, I'm sorry, how much Does Pennsylvania Attorney General Sunday want to spend on targeting clients of prostitutes and saying that they're sex traffickers while children and adults are being raped, trafficked without any resources? Because this is reallocating resources, more resources for prosecution, more resources for police. I'm sorry, they're after the fact. Can sex trafficking survivors get resources? Because here's what happens. They arrest sex trafficking survivors, child sex trafficking survivors, child CSAM, which stands for child sexual abuse material survivors, right? And then they prep them to come and they're going to testify in court. You do this, you're so strong. And then guess what they do? Oh, you got this. You're strong. You've survived the hardest part. You got this. No, they didn't. They didn't survive the hardest part, because I wish every day of my life I died when I was 9. Every day. So, where are the survivor resources? How much is this going to cost to continue to take resources away from sex trafficking survivors? One of the best prevention tools is ending poverty, like meeting people's needs. So how much are they going to put towards turning clients of prostitutes into traffickers, because they can't find traffickers because they don't create safe spaces for sex trafficking survivors? Oh wait, do they want to create safe spaces? Do they want us to talk? Do they want our voices to be heard? Or are they afraid of what's going to come out? All right, so we want them to examine the fiscal impact. Okay, we want them to evaluate whether amendments could better focus the bill on traffickers, child sexual exploitation, and survivor supports, okay? Rather than broadening what prostitution is and blurring those lines into sex trafficking. As somebody who was trafficked 9 to 10, again, multiple times, between 15 to 18, I had to stop writing about my second book. I had to stop writing it for a little while because I wrote about the abuse I experienced as a child from Denny's in Greensburg. Like, it took me out. Like, I was still doing other things, but I couldn't write about that part of my life anymore because it affected me so much. None of that is being recognized in this. So, I mean, I was not a child prostitute. I was being manipulated, coerced, abused, paid, and all of this under the management, because I remember very clearly, and I was annoyed because I wasn't 18. I mean, even when we're 18, we still think we know everything. But you know how teenagers are, 15, 16, 17, especially those of us who were houseless, often through those age periods. Like, it angers me because this needs to concentrate on people who are actually targeting and exploiting our teens and our children. Okay? Because I have a lot of that experience, as well as multiple survivors who were sex trafficked in Pennsylvania. And if the Pennsylvania House and Senate, they all should do it, creates a safe space for sex trafficking survivors to speak without repercussion, like, you need to make it clear that you'll go after, like, the law enforcement that comes after us. Pretty sure the only reason why I'm alive is because I got lots of things in lots of places, and if I die, that'll be fun. The Who Murdered Gabby files. I mean, come on now. There would be lots of podcasters because I, again, not only screenshot everything, but I got notebooks and notebooks and notebooks and letters mailed and all sorts of fun things, right? So anyways, back to this. We really need to make sure this bill is focusing on sex traffickers, people who are sexually exploiting children and adults against their will. These are not sex workers, right? Sex workers, like every other job, requires consent. And let's not even get into the whole exploitation in work thing, because pretty sure minimum wage for waitresses when I was a waitress at 15 was $2.83, and I'm 45, and I'm pretty sure it's still $2.83. So let's not talk about saving people from exploitation, because if we're going to talk about that, then our entire Pennsylvania economy is going to collapse. Because I'm going to start pointing out how colleges utilize labor trafficking and exploitation to help nepo babies while adding more to the plate of the poor, so that way they have more of a chance of not making it. It's a classist tool to keep people away. Anyways, I'm getting off track here. I need to pause for a minute. Well, not really here. I'll let you look at our next. It's the playlist. Pennsylvania Listen to Survivors playlist. All right. Trafficking funding focused on survivors rather than expanding criminalizations of adults engaged in prostitution. Okay. Don't expand or shit, what's it called whenever they change the classification? Or reclassify, or reclassify prostitution. Now, I haven't done it since 2019, 2020, but I thoroughly went through with Pennsylvania Prostitution Code and Pennsylvania Sex Trafficking Code. We already have the crimes codes to prosecute sex traffickers. Pennsylvania police, the Pennsylvania Attorney General, who's trying to push this so quickly and quietly, they already have these tools. They just can't find sex traffickers because they're not creating safe spaces for sex trafficking survivors to be heard to tell them what we need. Because they're not going to find sex traffickers by targeting clients and prostitutes. So don't expand or reclassify prostitution. In fact, let's just go for it. Let's just decrim prostitution. Remove section 59. And I can't draw that little thing, so we're just going to put that. Just ask them to remove that whole section on prostitution. Because adults don't need the government to police our private parts. My vagina belongs to me. It's none of the government's business. So, let's just decriminalize prostitution so then we can concentrate all the resources on getting people like rapists off the street. All right. Again, avoiding unintended consequences. By the way, I'm going through all of my little sheets that I made, and I put little graphics on here that I could color because it's stressful, so I color sometimes. And the hearts are usually always purple because of sex trafficking survivors. Hearing directly from survivors and people with lived experiences before making statutory changes That should be a no-brainer. I'm not sure why this has not been widely published and why lawmakers have not reached out to the public asking, like, hey, we don't know a whole lot from sex trafficking survivors. Like, can we hear what's happening and what you need? Why hasn't anybody in the Senate done that? I'm very bothered as to why Senator Lindsey Williams voted on this. I'm just going to go with the benefit of the doubt that Senator Williams just did one of those things that they do, because there's so many laws and so many bills that if they make it sound good, it sounds good. So yeah, let's vote on it because we're protecting the children, right? Anyways. All right, so let's go with Jamie Barton. He is the House Appropriations Vice Chair for one of the parties. Again, hear directly from lived experiences. Where is that? Center lived experiences. Here. Let's put here. H-E-A-R. And I'm putting them all in capital letters because I'm pretty sure a screen reader can't read the video anyway, so. Usually I try not to do all capital letters because it's not friendly for screen readers. Something I've learned is I've learned to become blind so I could help my husband. Okay, we need to examine potential fiscal impacts. We got that. Implementation impacts. Examine. Implementation. Impacts. Now, this is something that's important because oftentimes laws will pass with all of this funding and all of this extra criminalization, but then we don't look at the implementation impacts, right? Like, where is it being sent? How is it being used? How is it reaching the people that we want it to reach? Because sex trafficking survivors don't have access to resources, right? And then, like, they create these task forces at places that are supposed to have resources. And these task forces, when sex trafficking survivors say, hey, let us join so we can help you not only end sex trafficking, but we want to prevent it too, because we don't want this to happen anymore. They send lawyers to tell us that we're not going to be a good match because we won't let them exploit us. All right, so anyways, the implementation impacts are important. That needs to be examined, because where are all the safe harbor survivor funds? Not one single lawmaker's office that I've talked to has any idea. None. Nobody knows how to access this. And whenever I asked Senator Kim Ward, who had a lot to do with trafficking funding back in the day, I'm not sure if she's still involved. She might have dipped out because I was kind of alluding to the fact that perhaps she was not being so above board with said funding. But maybe not. But anyways, whenever I went there looking for these so-called resources from these funds for a 12-year-old child, they, rudely accused me of trying to attack Senator Ward at a Latrobe parade. Never been to a Latrobe parade. I might be verbally an asshole, but physically I'm not a violent person. So, like, what? But anyways, after we got that cleared up, she didn't apologize to me. She did recognize that she had the wrong person, but instead of saying sorry for accusing you of something, she just went on to basically tell me, instead of finding resources for this 12-year-old child, she'd call the police on me and have me removed from Senator Ward's office. Shit, my battery's dying. Gotta go. Be back later with more reasons. Pennsylvania House Appropriations Committee should immediately schedule a public and accessible hearing for sex trafficking survivors to be heard before any legislation moves out of committee. I've put together at least 28 reasons why every single House representative should say no to further pushing Senate Bill 45. This is being pushed very quickly by our state attorney general, who is trying to, what appears like, create sex traffickers out of clients of prostitutes, which really makes me wonder why he's not going after sex traffickers, aka rape traffickers, who are raping children and adults against their will. So many questions here. Contact your Pennsylvania House Appropriations Committee member today. Now, they have a meeting on Saturday, and ask them for a public hearing for sex trafficking survivors. There are plenty of reasons in the comments. Pick the ones that hold close to your heart and tell them that sex trafficking survivors deserve a voice in Pennsylvania. And if you're feeling up to it, ask them why we're not being consulted on this very important matter about us.